DM Live TV, your #1 digital channel for business, entrepreneurship, and innovation.
Claude Nikondeha is the founder and chief organizer of Amahoro Africa, a network of African leaders who are committed to the tangible manifestation of justice, mercy, and goodness in their local context. Claude was born in Burundi, East Africa, and grew up as the son of a Free Methodist pastor. Always hearing the message that Jesus was coming soon to evacuate everyone to heaven, Claude was not attracted to a God who did not care about the present realities of poverty, disease, and war. He studied journalism at Brest University in France, where he discovered a God who loves justice and cares for the poor, and realized his call was to partner with the poor in Africa to bring about transformation in the name and spirit of Jesus. Claude is the founder of Kazoza Finance, a Christian-centered community bank serving over 40,000 Burundians. He is also the founder of Burundi Fortified Foods, a privately owned Burundian initiative that seeks to help people maximize their potential through improved nutrition with affordable, high-quality, locally produced foods. Je reviens et accueillez Claude, which means put your hands together and welcome Claude.
Interview, but thank you so much for joining us. Those of you joining us for the first time on Business Garage, share the link. Share the link. Even those of you who are the usual family, share the link. Let your friends and family know that we are on, because today's story is going to really inspire you to action. As always, every time we have Claude, you leave feeling like you need to go and think about your life and really make a difference. Yeah, like you've not yet started, right? And that's a good thing. So I'm going to get straight into it. And first of all, welcome you, Claude. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking time off your very busy schedule and being with us this entire weekend here at Transform, which happened the last 2 days. Yes, and we got to hear from you in your plenary session about delivering results, not reasons. Now, it's really good that you didn't come to tell us the theory that you believe about results, not reasons, but rather you showed us the evidence of what has happened in your life as you've pursued transformation in your nation and beyond through all these ventures. So if you, I don't know, I don't want to be the one to say the things. There are lots of things that you're doing. If you could tell us a little bit before we get into the one that we are very interested in specifically today. So what are these things what are some of the things that are going on right now that God has enabled you to do?
Well, good morning again. What I didn't hear Pastor B3 mention my country. I'm from Burundi.
Oh yeah.
Born and raised in Burundi, but left Burundi when I was 16 and came back in 2010 just to participate like everybody else who love their country, like you, to participate in building, transforming our own communities and beyond.
Yeah.
So ever since we've been involved in, I'm very interested in creating jobs.
Yes, you are.
That's my passion, and since I don't know, sometimes I feel like I don't know how to do that, but what I do know how to do is gather resources, money, and then identify those who knows how to do it and come alongside them with the resources, with the skill, the technical skill, the financial skills, but also the funding, so that they can create the jobs, especially for young people. Now, Burundi being a new country, and those people come rare, so I have had to actually also figure out how to create jobs
Yes.
while we solve problems. The best jobs, the best business job creator is the one that solves a big problem. So if you're gonna solve a small problem, you're gonna have 3 employees: you, your wife, and your son.
Wow.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what I was doing in the U.S. You know, I was just happy to provide for my wife and my 2 kids. What a shock!
What a shock.
But being in Burundi, I feel like my life finally makes sense and contributes. So one of the companies that I was able to create is the one that fights malnutrition in the country. Burundi is malnourished. How many of you did you know if you don't get fed properly in your first 1,000 days, meaning from the moment you conceived to the moment you are 2 years old, if you don't have the nutrition you need, your brain will never develop to full capacity. Did you know that?
No.
So you walk around looking for employees and you can't find any, and then you wonder why. They didn't develop. So I figured that would be where I start.
That's a good place to start.
So I started a company called Burundi Fortified Foods. We specialize in nutrition for mothers from the time they know they're pregnant to babies, to the time they're 6 months old to the time they are 5 years old. And also we have a product for the entire family. So that has grown to be, it's 3 years old, the company. We have about 400 employees in that one. We work with farmers. We farm about 100 hectares. I don't know how you count here.
It's okay.
Well, yeah, a little less than 300 acres. And so we grow our own food. And so we employ farmers, and then we transport it, we transform it. And now we are down to doing, at the factory, transforming 24/7. So we have about 3 shifts. So that's just one, and then we do banking. Banking is my initial dream, to come alongside entrepreneurs, to help them with financial services, but also funding. We have about 60,000 members and about 13 branches, and yeah, and God is good.
Yeah, that sounds like God is good. Come on, if you don't have these things, clapping is good. Yeah, clapping we can do. Wow. And so I love that you say that your dream is, or the thing that you love to do, is to create employment. And you've not just solved it at only creating employment, but creating employees who can be employed one day from birth. From the time they're in their mother's womb, their brain should work, so that by the time they need a job, they can get a job. But seriously, seeing problems, national problems, and seeing not just the problem, but the opportunity to create a solution. You say that if you want to create lots of employment, you have to solve big problems. So you've talked about these ventures that you've already gotten into, social ventures to help create employment. But there's a new one that's come recently that has to do, again, interestingly, it is about be your boss, be your own boss. So if you could tell us the genesis of how you've come to the place where we have Kazoza Radio or FM, that is, are you trying to go into entertainment now? And how did that come about? The problem of already you're creating jobs. You're creating lots of jobs through the ventures that you're doing, but tell us a lot actually, about be your own boss.
Be your own boss. Huh? Don't you love that? Be your own boss.
I like it.
So, yeah, you try to create jobs, and then you realize you are not creating enough jobs. You are not even creating 2% of the jobs that needs to create. A lot has to do with the brain level that we need to raise. So since 2020, late summer, we have a new president in Burundi, Evariste Ndayishimiye, his name. And so he's all about economy. He's all about growing the economy. He talks about the economy. So he would like to see the country get out of poverty. And one of the things they did was to try and figure out how many youth unemployed do we have in the city. Because that's a huge challenge.
Yep.
You know, we have young people, once they graduate, wherever they come from up country, destination is Bujumbura.
Of course.
So we must have another guy in Bujumbura who only dreams about Bujumbura. So they come to Bujumbura, so now there are way too many. The capital city, growing up, it was about 150,000 people in the city when I was young. Now it's 1.2 million. And 50% of that is people from between 18 and 25.
Wow.
And those are the unemployed.
Yes.
A lot of them have graduated from high school, university, or trade. They have some type of degree. They know how to do something, but there is no jobs.
Yep.
So once they did the assessment to find out how many out of those, they were way over 500,000 of them. So out of the 1.2 million,
Yes.
50% are young, and out of the 50%, over 77% were unemployed.
Wow.
So once those numbers came out, the government just decided to leave it alone. There was no solution that they can think of. And then once you hear those kind of numbers, it's very difficult to shake it off.
Yeah.
So this is how you start solving big problem. Once you hear big problem, don't close your ears. Listen more, because this is where even your salvation is. Being your, discipleship.
Yeah.
This is part of discipleship. Solving big problem is discipleship. That's what Jesus did, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I start thinking, we got our management team together. What can we do about this? We are all about creating jobs. And we look among our clientele, who has the idea? Who is the one who has the thing that if we come alongside them, they can create the jobs?
Yes.
And you go through the list and then you're done. And you haven't found that name, you haven't found that company.
Yeah.
But we couldn't shake it off. So we thought to ourselves, well, maybe it's not about creating a company or a factory to hire all these people, because there is nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about them, thinking about them. For me to give you a job, I need to get to know you. I need to know that you are honest, you are a hard worker. I need to know that you have the capacity, the talent to do what I need you to do. And the 10-minute interview, it's not going to give me that.
Right.
Some people are very good interviewing, they are very good at talking.
It's true.
They present themselves as if they have run everything. You wonder, why are you still unemployed? And some other people, it's harder, especially the ones who don't talk much, they actually do the work.
It's true.
So, but either way, it's very difficult to know. It's very difficult for me to know you in 10 minutes, even 20 minutes, even 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But you know who knows you? Who knows all of that? How honest you are, how hardworking you are, how determined you are. There's only one person. I mean, there is two, there is God. But, we're not going to interview God either. So there's only one who knows about that, and that is you. So the only person on earth who can give you a job is you.
What a shock.
That's where the word came, be your own boss. It doesn't mean you don't work for anybody. It just means you employed you.
Wow.
You know, who's your boss?
I am.
So be your own boss. So we came up with that, and then we started the training manual. We said maybe we can partner with the government, and then they can avail some resources, locations, some funding for trainers, and then we can deploy this training over the next 6 months in the capital city and encourage the young people to start their own job in their own zone, in their own locality.
Yeah.
So I went to see the mayor with the training with my team, and he loved it. And he said he would get back to us. And week after week after week, waiting for that phone call. I mean, have you ever waited for a phone call that was important? And you start yelling at your wife? Wow. Why didn't you tell me somebody called or it wasn't him? So a month later, I called him. So he asked me to come. He said, where are you? I'm in the office. I'm coming. So he came. And so he told me that they loved it, but they have $0, zero money for it. So that was the end of that. And yeah, discouraged.
Of course.
But you don't give up. We're allowed to get discouraged sometimes, right? And sometimes we get sad for a day or two. But you have to get back up. So we sat down again together. We said, look, how do we give this training? I mean, do we go through the churches? Do we go through the schools? And we tried a number of things, but everything was a dead road.
Yeah.
So I came up with the idea, what if we use the radio as a platform? What if we use the radio and then the TV and then the magazine, the medium? Yeah, of course you have to do entertainment, but that's a small portion of, if you like right now we are 24/7.
Wow.
So, we're not going to talk about money,
Wow,
24/7. So we do some entertainment. So we apply for a license for radio, TV, magazine, and then we got the license.
Yay.
And so about May 17, we launched. And we launched the radio first. Kazoza FM, Be Your Own Boss.
Come on. That's the tagline.
That's the tagline.
Love it.
So my particular show, I do a little bit of this. I do twice a week, where I interview a boss, a real one.
Okay.
A real one. So for 1 hour, and usually like the ones who are really boss, who really have the money, they started from nothing.
Wow.
My parents didn't give me, startup capital, or my uncle didn't, give me a contract. They started with $100, $50, and started in their village.
Wow.
And now they're in the capital city, they own the hotel, the building, etc. So those are the stories that I promote. Huh?
Yes.
Because it's like I'm telling this guy, if this guy was able to do it,
Exactly.
anyone can do
it. Yes.
And then not everybody have to go to that level or have to do exactly what they are doing. It's not about cutting and pasting. It's about figuring out what is the one thing that you could do for your community. That's what business is about.
Wow.
Business is about other people. If you take care of other people, your business will take care of you. You don't have to worry about you. So that's my show. There is another show. I mean, so we have about 60 young people working on the radio right now.
Wow, 60.
All over the country, and they are very young. At the beginning, it was like the things that they were coming up. They have a program called every evening called Frambu. Frambu means our currency. It's like you have a program called Shillings.
Oh.
So that's the show, Shillings.
Wow.
And every week we have an envelope. So we have people calling, and then if they pass 3 questions about how to start. We have this big thing we call start, scale, sustain.
Wow.
So there was always 3 questions about it, and then they get the envelope if they pass all 3. So it's a way for people to dial in,
Yes.
to listen, because there is frambu, there is shillings to be given, and then there is a conversation about to start, you know, like the Nike, just start, you know. Don't think, don't overthink.
Just do it.
Just do it. And then you get the money. So all those young people programs that sounded silly to my ear but you know, determined to let them, you know, it's about them. You know, I'm an old man, so a lot of this stuff will not make sense to me, but it's not about me. I'm not the audience.
Yeah.
This is what you need to, you know, some people do business and they only sell what they like.
Oh.
What you like, you can go get it.
It's
you know,
true.
it's about other people.
What they like. Oh.
So that have put us #1 in the radio in a capital city within 2 months. And so you go in a bus, you go in a cab, I mean, wherever you go, that's where you're gonna hear. You go in the market, the big market, that's where you're gonna hear. You're gonna hear beyond, boss, beyond. And then that have also allowed us to sell space on the radio.
On the radio.
And then be able to break even within 3 months. So it's all good.
Wow. Yeah, wow. I mean, such a powerful, it's such a powerful story that you're telling about thinking about others, bringing in the young people, 60 people employed in 3 months, #1 radio in 3 months, breaking even in 3 months. It all sounds very encouraging and inspiring for all of the people listening. By the way, those of you online, remember you can ask questions and engage in this conversation right now on our YouTube channel especially. Just let us know what do you want to ask Claude right now. What would you like to ask him? But I have some questions myself even as you were sharing. You talked about engaging government. And of course, because of the projects that you do and the magnitude of the projects that you do, we suspect that there is, you know, some attention from the government. They are aware of your presence and what you're doing there. And so, what's your relationship with the government? How do they feel about your projects? You could be a threat, but we hope you're not. What is your relationship with the government? Businesses that are solving problems often, for us, we want to blame government, usually. Saying government needs to do something about this, government needs to do, but for you, you're engaging and actually doing what, in the opinion of many people, should be the role of the government. And so speak a little bit into that, because sometimes there's so much negativity in that light. So, yeah.
Thank you. I have to be careful here because more and more people from Burundi are watching the business, garage business.
We like it.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Hi, by the way. So there is what I call a healthy distance. A healthy distance. The government needs to know who you are, what you're doing, that you are not a threat, that you are a complementary, a partner with them, but they don't need to be too close.
Yes.
Okay, so often it's like, it's very easy to be linked in that circle, you know, especially on my level, you know, to get too close. That's when things go sideways. Healthy distance. They know who you are, they know what you're doing, and they respect and appreciate, but you're not dining with them. You know, don't do that, because they change and they have their agenda. You know, it's like what you do as a business person, as a transformer of your community. It's less about you and more about the people.
Yes.
But in politics, it's almost the opposite. It's like you advertise yourself for that, and then you do the opposite. It's about you and nothing else. Yeah. So that's why you keep the healthy distance. So far so good. And they change, they come and go.
It's true.
You know, in 12 years that I have been in Bujumbura, we've had 4 mayors.
Wow.
So, and I have been friends with each one of them. Healthy distance. Yeah.
Love it. That's a lot of wisdom. So there's always this question that comes up every time we host you on Business Garage, and it has come up already again on YouTube, mentioning about, so the dream of many people, sadly, and I think it's changing now as more and more of us engage in serving our communities, has been to escape Africa and run to the nations where others have built their nations while we run away from our own nations. And so people, even now, they're asking, transitioning from the US, going back home to Burundi. And so the question is, how did you adapt your experiences to the local market and from to set up your businesses? How did you adapt from there? First of all, why? And I feel like you already answered that question, but the why. Why would you leave comfort where all is well with you and your family and choose to come back into a place where you'd have to start from scratch and where others are trying to pray for visas to leave? You're coming back in voluntarily and actually doing the hard work of setting up enterprises.
Number one, you have to lower your expectations. The internet won't work like you used to.
Yeah.
And the roads won't be as beautiful. So, you know, it's a very interesting question, because even now when you go to Burundi, like as much as we're trying to do, you go to the airport and you see all these young people going. There is a new route. They go to Europe, this country called Serbia. So there is I don't know when they did this, but you, as a Burundian, with a Burundian passport, you can go there with a visa. And from there, you make your way back to Western Europe, like Belgium, Swiss. And so since January, there's like 3,000 young people who have left.
Oh my gosh.
So sad. You know, obviously when you've never been to Europe, you think it's heaven. And then once you get there, you realize
home was heaven.
Home was heaven. But unfortunately, you can't come back.
Oh, Lord.
So we tried to. So I went from there, which I had a situation, you know. I was feeding my 3 people, wife and 2 kids. But you know, as a follower of Jesus, sometimes Jesus puts you in situations to shock you. And then you have to follow that, because you realize that your discipleship depends on it.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was comfortable in a suburb in the US, in Arizona, and but I came back to Burundi for a visit. And then while I was visiting, I had the opportunity to visit a community about an hour drive from the capital city, where I met a group of about 70 families that were extremely, extremely poor. And I have seen poverty before. I grew up poor. I thought I grew up poor. But when I saw this community, it was nothing I've seen before. It was 2008, and I couldn't believe there were human beings in 2008 living the way these people were living.
Yeah.
So it's one of those situations where you see and you wish you never saw.
Oh.
But once you see it,
You can't unsee it.
you can't unsee it. So going back to the US, it's like, yeah, you're comfortable, but you're depressed. And your soul, your heart won't rest until you come back and you figure out. Now, some people in the West, you plan, you say in 5 years I'll move back. So I will plan, you make trips, you watch, you look, you think, you know, you process. Yeah, sometimes you process forever. Just do it.
Just do it.
But in my case, that wasn't the situation. It's like I had to come back.
Yeah.
And then figure out as I was there what to do, how to do it. So you lower your expectation.
Yes.
And you start where people are. You don't leave what you know. what you know is going to come handy at some point.
Yes.
But not at the beginning.
Okay. Wow, so much wisdom, right? Yeah. What you know will come in handy, but start where you are so that you don't get very discouraged. So one of the things that intrigues me about you is how everything you do is big. At least, I mean, from the regular person's perspective, it's really big. I mean, in 3 months, you're employing 60 people. One of the organizations has 400 employees. You're solving problems of I don't know how many, 70, 80, 100 something families. Everything is almost national scale, and many people, we don't naturally find ourselves thinking that way. So how come you think this way? Can it be learned? How can we start thinking that way, as opposed to, because many of us, it's, can I solve my problem and my family's problem? You keep saying that when you see something, you can't unsee it. And I'm thinking, there are things we've seen, but we didn't go and start things to solve that. I mean, we saw them, we cried, we felt so sad and thought, that's really bad. And then we went back as if we hadn't seen them before. We are still processing for 12 years now. So how come, what is it for you that you think can be learned for the person listening to say, I'd like to also become a Claude in my community, in my nation, to see things and actually do something about them, and not something really tiny, but something significant. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, number one, not everything you see, you're going to do something about it. Okay? So, because as you said, we're surrounded by problems. And if you try to fix all of them, you hope some other people will fix something. Eh? Don't fall asleep. Fix something.
Wow.
Now, here's the, as far as growth or big, they don't start that way. They start small. But here's what you need. This is what we need to unlearn. There is a lie that we have learned and interiorized. Small business. That's a lie. Big businesses. I mean, look in Uganda, in Kampala, or in Uganda, or in Kenya. Who is the small businesses solving problems?
Not really.
Like, what's the business that employed the most people? Which one is that?
It's the big businesses. Yeah.
It's the big business. Do they start big?
No.
So, but because we have been told small business, start small business, so we start with that mindset, and then the business ends up dying because, it's like giving birth to a child and you say, you stay 2.
Oh, no.
So you put them in a room where they can't pass the ceiling. Oops. But if you start, wherever you start, like I remember studying Kazoza, and in the first year already, I'll get parents who come to see me, and they'll be like, my son, my daughter just was accepted in this big university in South Africa or in Kenya, but I don't have money for it.
Yes.
How can you help me? And then I'm thinking, did you give birth to this kid? Yes. You didn't know they're going to go to university at 18?
Oops.
Because the time to think about the university is when they are born. They will go to university.
Mercy, Claude.
It's not supposed to be a shock.
It's a shock. What a shock that it's not supposed to be a shock.
They will go to university. They will get married. They will have kids, etc. That's how you start, right? So when you start a business, it's the same thing. It will grow. It will build up. It will employ hundreds of people. It will be a big business. Wow. Now, the question is, knowing that is one thing. So it's like knowing that your son, your daughter will go to university is one thing. Now, starting to put aside $100 a month for that university when the baby is 1 month old, it's another story.
It is.
I say 100, it could be 10. So we started like a Kazoza College account.
Wow.
At that time, then we encourage people, say, hey, when you're pregnant, start planning what? Their college, their university.
Wow.
And usually, so that's the thing. It's like we learn something about when you start a business, you start a business that you will sell. So if you have that in mind, the structure you put in place are different from when you say, I need something that will feed me.
Ouch.
Okay, so this is how so if you have that in mind,
Yes.
then it will be big. It has to be big. Because that's the natural course of human. You know, you grow and then you stop and you start growing this way. But you grow. Either way you grow. So it's all about the beginning.
Yeah.
If you set it up to grow, it will grow. If you set it up to not grow, it will not grow, and then it will die.
Oh, wow, 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 wow. Yeah, that was a life lesson.
And then also you set it up to be, you know, not a local thing.
Oh.
Because whatever problem, here's what you need to put in mind. Whatever problem you're seeing in front of you, it's all over the place.
Okay.
It's just what you're seeing is what's in front of you. But it's everywhere. It's everywhere in Uganda. It's everywhere in Africa. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So again, not only it will grow, but it will expand. Start, scale, sustain.
Start, scale, sustain. Can we say that again? Start, scale, sustain. And so what I'm hearing is that I must begin with the vision that it's going to be big. Start small, but I know that it's going to be big. So then build systems and everything is towards growth. And if I don't do that, then I have just decided that it's going to be small. So whatever I have, if it is small, it's because I have decided that it's going to be small. And if I decide that it will be bigger, it will be bigger. Let's go back a little bit about, people keep asking about raising resources. But let's talk about go back to be your own boss. Be your own boss. Are there some stories of transformation? Like, tell us what has happened in the last 3 months, because it's been a short time, but lots of impact already. What are some of the positive things that have happened since the radio started?
Okay, great question. So, for example, I told you that part of my program is to interview the big bosses. So, like, one of this guy is a gentleman by the name of Constantin. He's 70 years old now, but I know him since I was a young boy, and he was, you know those people in Matatu that counts the money?
No.
That's what I remember him being.
A
Conductor. Hey, conductor. Now, you know, he is literally a large billionaire. So now one of the company he has is a factory that he assembles the small phones. You know, those tiny phones that the village people use. So he has a factory that assembles that. And so here's what we were able to do with him. So I told him about the program, etc. So we recruited about 10 people in each zone, 10 young people. They had to pass the test, etc., and learn about the phone. And then the factory, they will have to find a store in their community, and then the factory brands the store, and then as a financial, will give loan for 10 million, about $4,000 each young person, to get the material, to get the phones, the spare parts, etc. So that they can set it up. Now they have a store, branded, looking extremely nice, and they have 4,000 worth of inventory from day one. So right there, 130 young people got a job.
Jeez.
So sometimes, you know, I don't know about Uganda, you know, just saying be your own boss. Some people say, well, I like that, but what do I do?
Yeah.
You also need to show them what to do.
Yes.
So that's what we're doing. So we have done that with 3 companies, with 3 factories already, and we have the goal is to create 1,000 jobs every 3 months with those. So you have the factory that brings the equipment, and then you have the bank that brings the resources, and then you have the trainers that supports them. This is how you keep your books. This is how you know, that's the other thing. It's like when you start a business, this business is not supposed to feed you from day one. You need
What
to be,
a shock.
it's like you give birth to a kid and you're like, okay, now you go fetch water. It doesn't work.
No.
Or you cook, or you go make money. So it's the same thing. If you look at business the same way you look at giving birth, you would, you know, because, you know, a baby, you look after them. You protect them. You give them, you know, the kibondo porridge that I produce. If you're not doing that, please do. It will serve you.
Wow. All right, we have a few more minutes. I'm going to ask 2 more questions. One, you have multiple things running, and yet all of them are, you're still going on to scale and sustain in different spaces. Some, how do we do that? Because for many people, it's a thing of, I can only do one thing and do it well. If I touch another, then this one dies. How do you do multiple things, do them well, and scale them and keep going? Some pointers.
Yeah, so it's multitasking. The key, what have helped me, is really to be able to identify and hire talent. Okay, so you're supposed to give birth to this company, nurture it, grow it, get it to a place where it's strong, and then hire talent who will replace you. Usually somebody that have seen you grow this company. You know, somebody who knows something about accounting. It's very important. You know, organizing your money is the #1 thing you should worry about. Because money goes and never came back. So you hire talent, and, you know, delegate, trust people. If you have vet them, trust people with, I mean, you look, how come we have multinationals? I mean, the people who started it, they are not in Uganda or Kenya, no. But, you know, but systems are important. People need to know where they start, where they end. You know, you don't want somebody running around making decisions that only belongs to you. So you need to put the system, the boundaries. Everybody knows where they start, where they end. You need boards. You need strong, capable board. And the boards here is like you look at people who are successful.
Yeah.
People who are not hoping your business feeds them. You know, they are your mentors. They are people who come to help you. So boards, talent, delegate. If you're going to grow, if you're going to be in Barara everywhere, you can't be everywhere. If you think you're the only one who can drive this car, then you're going to stay around Nalia.
So again, what I hear is people, all those things you've talked about, delegating, raising talent, you know, it's about people, building systems, people. So, as we close, as we come to the end of our interview, where I'm sure there were still lots of questions that people are asking, but what would you say to all of us who are watching, listening? We're all interested. That's why we're here. We are intrigued by this story. A part of us wants to also do, you know, something significant in our generation to change things and solve problems in missional communities, business people, and all that. Sometimes challenges not always come, right? And so to speak into, what would you say to us? You'd say, these are critical things. I would say, you know, if you want to be a person who continues to create change where you are, these are things that are basic, and I would say that look out for this and pay attention to this, and you'll keep moving forward.
Yeah, so so one thing that came to mind I could say is like, you need to know your business, your line. Okay, so it's like we use the expressway from Entebbe coming here. So you pick a line and you stick to it. You know, this is what my business is. This is the problem I'm solving.
Yes.
Be specific, and working in a bank has helped me understand what that means. You know, just like a small example. You know, somebody comes and say he has a beautiful project on providing milk, selling milk. You know, people are selling bad milk, they mix it with water, but I have a plan. Okay, what's your plan? Great. So you need loan, I need a loan. For what? To buy cows.
But you have milk.
I'm like, we were talking about milk a minute ago. Now you want to buy
no
cows.
Cow.
So for him, it's like, let the people with cows do the cow thing. And then you do milk. So find your lane. This is the problem. Be specific, and then be the expert in that lane. Get to know everything you can know. Now we have internet, we have books. Everybody write books. There is a chance. There is a way. It's not like a long time ago in Barara. You have to teach yourself everything. Now you have access. You can know the person who started this, where they are, how they grew. You can know everything to know. So you are not the expert of this land, but you can become. So that's the thing, is like, pick a lane. This is the problem I'm solving. Be specific to the letter. Don't deviate. And then learn as much as you can on that specific problem.
Wow. Business Garage, so much wisdom in so little time. Would you help me appreciate one more time Claude Nikondeha? Come on.